Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to compare and order rational numbers. We've all seen these symbols right here, where hopefully by now you remember what they mean. And this symbol right here, the little arrow going to the left, is the, what kind of symbol? Less than symbol. And then the other symbol right here is the greater than symbol. The easy way to remember that, to me, is if you have this symbol right here, and you have a number, let's say 2 is less than 5. Do you see this little bitty point right here? That little bitty point that's pointing to the 2, let me circle that. This little bitty point is a little bit smaller, right? So this side is less than this huge side over here. Okay, that's the way I remember it. If you just look at the little symbol, you'll know that this is the little side, this is the big side. Okay, so let me erase that so you can see it better. Okay, and the greater sign symbol is the same thing. 7 is greater than 3. So remember, the big side is the greater than, so it's kind of like you read it from left to right, kind of like you read a book. The greater side than the lesser side. So this is the less than, this is the greater than symbol. And then we all know the other symbol that we use in math almost every day, and that's the equal sign, right? This symbol right here. So we're going to write that in our notes. That's the equal sign. Equal symbol. Now, if I scroll down, we're going to compare a fraction and a decimal. The only way we can do this is by following the steps here in our notes. In order for us to compare and order fractions and decimals, we have to do the following. We have to read the problem to determine what needs to be done. In this case, all they tell us is to use the less than, greater than, or the equal symbols to compare each pair of numbers. Okay, so I'm going to, inside this bubble right here, I have to put in a less than, or I have to put in a greater than, or I have to put in an equal sign, whichever one belongs there. And the only way I can do that is if I change the fractions, okay, this fraction, change it to a decimal, and it's going to be top in, bottom out, right? So the top number goes inside, there it is, and the bottom number stays outside. If you do this quick little division, you know that you can't go into 1. You have to add a decimal and a 0, like we talked about in class already. And then this decimal moves straight up. Okay, so we can actually erase a decimal because it's not even there anymore. So I'm going to erase a decimal. Now I have 10 in the bottom, on the inside. Now 5 times 2 is 10, so remainder 0. So my decimal is 0.2 for 1/5. That's what that equals to. Which one's bigger, 0.2 or 0.108? Well, in order for us to compare them, I have to write the decimal vertically. That means up and down. I'm going to align the decimal points, and then I'm going to compare them, okay? So here you go. I'm going to write them vertically. I'm going to align them. Let me write that closer to this one. 0.2. Now there's nothing here, so I can fill in zeros if I want to. And I'm going to start comparing from the left of the decimal. They're both zeros, so I don't know which one's bigger. But if I look at the next number, that's a 1 and that's a 2. So I know that 2 is bigger. So I know that the 0.2 is bigger than the 0.1. Therefore, since 1/5 is 0.2, I know that 1/5 is greater than 0.1. Okay, if you change this fraction to a decimal, you should know by now that 3/4, that's your 3/4, that's like your quarters in money. You have 3/4 out of 4 quarters to make $1. That's worth 75 cents. So if I'm going to do that, all I have to do is write this decimal down here to compare it, write it vertically, and align those decimals. Notice the decimals here, and I've aligned the other decimal right underneath it. If I compare the zeros again, I can't say which one's bigger than the other, but if I compare the number in the tens place, I know that's a 6 and that's a 7. So I know 6 is less than 7. So because I'm talking about this number right here compared to this number, which is 0.75 or 75 hundredths, I know 65 hundredths is less than 75 hundredths. Okay, now this one's going to be really easy once we do it. It looks a little hard because of the big numbers, but look at what I'm about to do. 42 out of 50. I want to make it easy on everybody, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 100. The bottom number, I want it to be over 100. And the only way I can do that is if I multiply it times 2. So if I do that to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. And 42 times 2 is going to give me 84. That's 84 out of 100. Wait a minute, I can write that as a decimal, huh? I can do 84 hundredths, because this is my tenths place, that's my hundredths place. So, 84 hundredths. Uh-oh. What do we have here? Less than, greater than, or equal to? You have to compare this number and this number. They're the same number. So then that means that we're going to be having an equal sign right there. Okay? Now let me move my toolbar to the other side so we can do this last problem. This is 15 out of 1,000. 15 thousandths. Oh, 15 thousandths? Well, let's just write it in the thousandths place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. 15, and you fill in a 0. 15%. Wait a minute, that's 15 out of 100, isn't it? 15, because percent means out of 100. So 15 hundredths, oh wait, that's tenths, hundredths. 1, 5. If I'm gonna compare both of these numbers, I have to line them up. So I'm gonna write down the first one, and then I'm gonna line my decimals. And let's look at what happens here. If I look at the first number, the first digit, these zeros, I can't tell whether they're bigger or smaller than the other one. But if I look at this next one, I know 0 is smaller than 1. So that means that 15 thousandths, which is this one right here, 15 thousandths is less than 15 hundredths, which is 15%. Okay? Alright. Now here's where the fun comes in. You're probably saying, fun? What kind of fun? Well, here we go. We're going to write down the following in order from greatest to least. Can anybody think of the vocabulary word? That means greatest to least, from the biggest to the smallest. We're going from the big value to the lower value. Oh yeah, we're going down in value. So that means descending order. Okay, this is the vocabulary word you need to know for this unit. So all we got to do is change them all to decimals and then compare them. 1/5, if you listen to the fraction song already, you should know that that's 0.2. And then this one's already a decimal. 23%, that's 23 out of 100, or 23 hundredths. There's my 23 hundredths. 3/8, again, fraction song. Fraction song tells us to multiply the 3 times 0.125, so that gives me 0.375. And then that was already a decimal, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimals. Line them up. 0.2, 0.291. Remember, make sure this decimal here is lined up right on top of each other. Okay, and then the next one is 0.23, 0.375, and 0.3. Okay, now if I start looking at the decimals here, all zeros, I can't tell whether one is bigger than the other. I do know that these 2's are smaller than these 3's. Okay, but I have some missing numbers. Fill in those zeros. Fill in those spaces with zeros. Now you're able to tell which one's bigger than the other. These two, between these 2's, this 9 is bigger than the 3, which is bigger than the 0. So the 0, this one is the smallest. Okay, so if that's the smallest, then this one's going to be my last place, my place number 5. and this one's gonna be my next one, place number 4. This is gonna be place number 3, and then I go to the 3's. This one, the 3, the 0 is smaller than the 7, so then this one's gonna be next, because I'm trying to go from least to greatest. So I kind of went in backwards orders here. Okay, the biggest one of them all is gonna be this one, and this is gonna be second place. So now that I have them in order, I can go back and rewrite them in the correct form that they gave me to start off with. So I'm going to rewrite them in the correct form. And if you remember correctly, this point 2, that was this one right here. So that's going to be all the way to the end. That's going to be 1/5. Okay? And then, what's that? Number 4 is 0.23. That was at 23%. So I'm going to write 23%. Again, I'm working backwards just because that's the way I like to do it. You can do it the other way. It doesn't really matter as long as we get the same answer. And then number 3 is 291. That was the decimal already. So I just write it down as a decimal since that's the way it was given to me. And then number 2 was 0.300. That's this one right here. So 0.3. And final number 1, 0.375. That's that fraction that we had to use, convert it using the fraction sum. So that's 3/8. So my answer to this problem is 3/8, 0.3, 0.291, 23% and 1/5. Okay? You can finish the rest by yourselves. We have this one right here to put in order from least to greatest, and this is called ascending order. And then you have these 2 problems that have to do with the STAR test. So these are the kind of problems that you will see on the STAR test. Take a look at them and see if you can answer the questions. We'll have the questions for you in class when you come in, so that we can discuss these problems in a little bit more detail.